Hello everyone, maisth here. Welcome back to the Human Character Tutorial Series. In this part, we'll be modifying the neutral body that we've made and making it more male-like, with details such as abs, bigger arms, and legs, as well as joining the male head that we made to this modified body. Once again, if you don't have the neutral body or head up until this point, don't worry. You can either watch the tutorial for those specific parts, or you can download the blend file that has all the body model up until this point. I'll leave those two things in the description. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so here we are in the scene and we're gonna join the head now. I'm gonna actually first apply every modifier that I have on the head, the mirror modifier, the subdivision one. Then I'm gonna join everything together with Ctrl J. Now I'm gonna position the head roughly to where the neutral one is. Now I'm gonna delete the neutral face, like this. Also this one. Okay, I'm gonna apply the mirror modifier. I'm gonna join both objects again with Ctrl J. Now I'm gonna select the edge of the head and the body, right click, go to loop tools and bridge, and there it is. So now I'm gonna actually delete all this side of the body so I can mirror the body again, but with the head now, and continue the work. Okay, so you will notice that we have these edges and they are making some triangles and we don't want that. So I'm actually gonna delete these two in particular. The reason why is because I'm gonna actually use an edge loop here. I'm gonna put an edge loop here and I'm gonna join it with this vertex right here. All right, there it is. Now we're gonna focus on modifying the body a bit. So I'm gonna select these parts right here. I'm gonna use proportional editing, activate it with O, and start moving. So here's gonna be a little bit of a time lapse. The point here is to modify the body enough so it actually resembles a male physique with details such as the abs, like for example I'm trying to do here. Also the legs should be a little bit more wider, a little bit more heavy looking. So I'm gonna be using the proportional editing, and right here I'm using the smooth tool from scope mode to actually smooth things a little bit. So here I'm gonna just move the shoulders a bit up. I'm gonna make the forearm a little bit wider, just like this. And this is the whole point of this part for now. I'm actually gonna delete this edge loop here because I don't want too much polygons here right now. We're gonna add some more a little bit later. For now, it's okay like this. Now we're gonna focus on modeling the abs. So I'm gonna be moving these edges here. I'm actually gonna select these faces. So select all these faces, press I on the keyboard, and this will insert. So I'm gonna modify them a bit. So this will represent the abs. It's just a matter of modifying. Remember, we are trying to make a mid-poly body, so we want to make sure that our polygons, our faces, our edges, vertices are all presented in the best way possible. So we will be making use of them in an efficient way. So just move these parts here. These parts will represent the abs, at least for the male body. I'm gonna actually make this a little bit bigger, just like that. And just make sure to smooth the abs, smooth the body. Alright, that's looking a little bit better. I'm gonna select this one, move it like that. So now I'm gonna be making another edge loop, or at least a distinction here. So I'm gonna select those faces here. I'm gonna insert once again, move it up just like this, and smooth vertices, and use the smooth tool from scope mode. So these edges, we're not gonna have them. Instead, we're gonna join them with these edges. So use the knife tool to connect them together. If you remember, these edges were from the face, and since they are generating some triangles, we don't want them. Now I'm gonna smooth a little bit. Now I'm gonna delete these edges and these ones as well. And also delete this edge right here since we no longer need it. And there we have a loop passing through the shoulder to the face. As for this one, we're gonna actually delete these two edges and join it right here, just like this. So use the knife tool once again. There it is. Now this loop is redirecting through the face once again. Now we're gonna focus on these ones as well, so I'm gonna smooth them a bit before doing so. Now I'm gonna delete these two edges, and I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with the last redirect. So I'm gonna use the knife tool, just put like a square here, and join it with these two vertices. Use the knife tool, put a square, and join it with these two vertices. And there it is. It's redirecting to the face. There it is. Now we don't have any triangles, and our face to the body has quads. I'm gonna add another edge loop here so I can detail this part of the neck a little bit better. Remember to always use proportional editing. It will be your best friend here. I'm gonna delete this edge line here so I can work with these details a little bit better. You can add or delete edge lines as you see fit. We're trying to maximize every detail possible with the minimum amount of polygons. Of course, we still need to have a reasonable amount of edges and vertices, but it's okay if you want to delete some that you think that are just not worth it. So I'm making the neck. The male neck, at least of like a bodybuilder, it has a very specific neck, a very strong neck, and some of these parts show. I'm gonna put the scapula a little bit higher, just like this. Okay, that's looking actually better. Okay, now it's looking a little bit more muscly, isn't it? So now we're gonna be modeling the butt. So to model the butt, I'm actually gonna select these faces except the ones in the middle, as these ones will be useful to make the cheeks. So insert with I again and move it a bit, and I'm actually gonna use the smooth tool. So these faces that we didn't use are gonna be used for the cheeks, like this. And smooth it a bit. Now the male butt is not as complex as the female one. It doesn't need to be as smooth or round as possible as the female one. Instead, we're gonna be making a very rough one. In this time lapse, you can see me moving the vertices, moving these faces a little bit. So the butt is a little bit rugged. It's not as smooth. Once again, the male butt is not as round as the female one. And once again, it doesn't need to be anything complex. We're just making a very simple male butt, for this occasion at least. And there's our simple butt. So now we're gonna continue to modify the body. So this is gonna be a time lapse for now. I'm gonna put a text here of when the time lapse is finished. But for now, it's just me modifying parts of the body, moving some parts, smoothing them with the smooth tool from scope mode, and also using the proportional editing. So follow my lead here. But don't worry, we're not going to be adding anything new, at least not for now. Just focus on making sure that the body looks as male-like as possible. So here I'm actually going to be adding some edge loops around the hand so I can actually have more details and have them be a little bit more big. So I'm selecting every single one of them. And make sure to use individual origins and scale them up, just like this. Now I'm gonna select the edges of the joints for the fingers and scale them up, but this time with proportional editing, just like this. And you see we have a little bit of volume now for the fingers. I'm gonna do the same for the thumb. So I'm gonna select these edge lines, just gonna scale them up a bit, and also use the smooth tool. Okay, like that. I'm actually gonna move it a little bit. Okay, that's looking better. I'm also gonna make the wrist a little bit more wider here on the y-axis at least. Next thing, I'm gonna add some edge loops here so I can actually have more detail, and this detail is going to be for the abs that are in the body, at least near the stomach. Now we're not going to be inserting faces here, we're not going to be extruding, we're just going to be using these edges that we have here to make the abs. They're not going to be as noticeable as the abs we have up, but they will still be noticeable by a small amount. I'm doing this so I don't waste too much edges on this part, since this is a very minute detail that you can add. So I'm actually gonna add another edge loop here. I'm gonna use the smooth tool once again, so to separate them a bit. So this is gonna test your patience a bit, since at this point it's just moving things, maybe adding some edge loops here and there to make sure that the details can be noticeable, but also that they don't take too much edge loops or edges. Okay, something like that. Now you're gonna see how these little abs that we have here in this part of the body are gonna be noticeable with just these edges. Now we're gonna focus on a specific part here. This part gets a little bit of bump which mostly happens on a muscular character like the one we're making, and I'll explain that a little bit later. So I'm gonna use the knife tool. I'm gonna connect these vertex right here. I'm gonna go to this part and connect it with this other one. Now I'm gonna smooth it a bit, and I'm gonna join also this vertex with this other one. So you can see that the polygon is almost there, but first I'm gonna delete these two edges here. So dissolve them, and this one we can dissolve as well, but we still want to have a degree of control here, so I'm actually gonna add another edge loop. We can move this so as to separate them a bit, and use the smooth tool. Okay, so we're gonna join this vertex with this one, and this one with this one. You can see what I'm trying to create here. It's this redirection from the abs to the arm. I'm gonna use proportional editing to give this feeling for this arm. Sometimes the joining of an arm to a forearm have this little bump here, as you can see in the image. It gives a nice feeling, especially for a muscular character. So I'm trying to replicate that detail. And at least for this part, it's gonna be a time lapse of me making this bump. So as always, the three tools I'm gonna be using for this: the proportional editing, the smooth tool, and sometimes the smooth vertices. I'm also gonna leave the time to where this time lapse ends. Now I'm gonna modify the face a bit. I realized that the eyes were a bit open, that they didn't have like a good eye shape, at least not one that I really like. Now this part is subjective. You can actually make this however you want, at least the eye shape or the shape of the face. So this part at least is pretty optional to follow, but I just want to make sure my character actually looks quite nice. But also, because this part is somewhat optional, this is gonna be more of a time lapse, so I'm not gonna comment on this part. I'm just gonna put the text to when this time lapse is finished, so you can follow this part if you want to. But if you're happy with your character up until this point, you can skip to the end. and there is the male character. There are some things obviously that you can make better, but for a character base that you can reuse in any way, shape or form, this is actually pretty useful. Now, if you want to keep making modifications, maybe change some things of the modeling, you are free to do so. As always, I will leave 2 links in the description, one containing the folder where you can download the blend file for this scene, be it the initial one or the final one, and another folder where you can download the other blend files from past videos, in case you need them as a backup or don't have them. Don't forget that if you need help, you can always comment down below in this video or even join up my Discord. Whatever the choice may be, I'll be happy to help you with anything related to the tutorial or 3D in general. So that's about it. Take care and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.